The next speaker is Raphael. He comes from here, from France. He's a chemistry teacher and also a very active member in the French science outreach community. He organizes things like Café des Sciences, and he founded an officially recognized non-profit called Lab Oxygène that offers a lot of scientific activities. And now he probably needs to explain, because he offers sport activities, martial arts, and YouTube. So I don't really see how these things link together. So I'm looking forward to seeing his talk and learning more about science communication in YouTube.
Okay, thank you. First of all, hello everybody. I'd like to thank all the organizers for the invitation. I'm really delighted to be at this wonderful congress to present you my work. So, I'm Raphael. I'm here as a passionate about science, and I create and share videos about chemistry, mostly on my main YouTube channel called Blablaro au Labo. So Blablaro it's me, and I'm in the lab, and it's Blablaro au Labo. My project has many faces. This is the logo of my association, which proposes martial arts activities and scientific activities. One of the faces of my project is about popularization of chemistry, fun chemistry. I will talk about that tomorrow, but today I will talk about teaching how to create and use videos to help students in practical work. So before I start, who is using videos for practical work session here, please? Yeah, fun man, great. And okay, so I have many things to show you. But before that, a little presentation video on YouTube. Okay, let's go.
Vous reposez l'enduit, vous récupérez la phase inférieure.
So this is chemistry tutorial.
Plus efficace. Prenez des notes dans vos cahiers. Degrés Celsius.
Thank you. So this is a Blablaro style for teaching part, and like I said, tomorrow we have the fun part. Just a quick presentation of the YouTube channel. So you have a lot of playlists. You have a playlist here with experimental techniques. So today we talk about this playlist because this is the videos I use with the student for preparatory work. And we have also videos with theoretical course in organic chemistry, videos with interview with my students. And more recently, the channel changes a little of editorial line, and we have videos of popularization. Okay, so here is a little challenge. Do you think is it possible to realize this practical work in only 4 hours with students in second year in higher education without giving them protocols? Honestly, this is really ambitious because when students have no protocols, they have to elaborate all the protocols by themselves. Of course, their interaction with the teacher. And of course, you give them some information about the product, about solvents, and about their physical properties. But still, they have a lot of work to do in 4 hours, elaboration of protocol, implementation, and discuss the results, of course. I will try to show you that with the appropriate tools, you can do that with students. Okay, so first we have to identify needs, do the diagnosis. I don't know how it goes in your country, But in France, we have mostly two approaches in practical work. We have the classical approach. So in the classical approach, you give to the students detailed protocol and they have to follow them. Okay? This is interesting because you have a lot of time to manipulate. They can learn properly the basic techniques. They can learn right gestures, but it doesn't develop enough critical thinking about their experimental approach. So, and it doesn't make them autonomous. In the other side, you have the investigative approach. In investigative approach, you don't give detailed protocol to students, or you don't give all detailed protocol to students. They have to elaborate by themselves. This is harder, but much more interesting, because they have a real reflection about their approach in practical work. And personally, I really prefer this one, and in organic chemistry, I only propose to my students investigative approach, so I don't give protocols. Okay, but this approach has also a major drawback. It takes a lot of time. I'm sure you know that. Maybe you have already tested. And in 4 hours, honestly, students manipulate maximum, maybe 2 hours. So you can do a lot of manipulation, and we have a problem. That's why a few years ago I was wondering if it exists a way to have advantages of both approaches without their drawbacks. And at this period, I had some students with big difficulties in practical work because they never practiced in a lab before higher education. So just realize it was catastrophic, really. I found that the only way to help this kind of students is to show them experiments before the practical session, and that's why BlaBlaRoLabo is born, because I started to create videos. Okay, so this is the first point of the preparatory method I show you. First point, give videos with demonstration to the students at home. So they can see techniques before the session, they can learn techniques at their own pace, and they can see several times if it's necessary, because you can go back. Okay, during the session, it saves a lot of time to elaboration protocols, implementation, and discussion about results. At the beginning, I create the video just for my students, and after a few tests, it was really encouraging, and I've decided to broadcast this kind of videos on YouTube, because all the teachers cannot take this enormous time to create videos. Just for one video, it's at least 50 hours of work, maybe 100 sometimes, and even today, I don't have time to do that, so that's why I try to work with partners, and 3 months ago I became a father too. And, so I have no time to do editing right now. Okay, so about YouTube, you have a big advantage because you have the interactivity. All students and all teachers can come on the platform, comment your video, ask questions, and even for me, it's a way to improve the content. To be appreciated, the videos need to be presented in an attractive way. That's why in my videos, the pitch is between the academic teacher and the YouTuber, so you have to be rigorous, but maybe a little fun. In other words, I think you have to attract with your style and teach with your content. But okay, we have videos, students are really enjoying on these videos, but how can we be sure that they watch videos at home? And how can we be sure they understand all the notions in videos? I mean, I think video alone is not sufficient to teach. So we need another tool, and you need quizzes if you want to work with this preparatory method. That's why this is the second point of this preparatory method. For one technique, the students has to watch the video. After that, he answers the quiz. And after that, of course, he receives an automatic correction, so he can study the correction. He has a first feedback. Feedback is really important. And one day before the practical session, the teacher can synthesize and analyze all the results. He can identify the difficulties, so questions with difficulties, students with difficulties, and prepares an appropriate briefing for the practical session. So now let's have a general overview about this method. Before the session, you have the student preparatory. So watch a video, answer the quiz, study the correction, and after that you have the teacher preparation, prepare an appropriate briefing for the practical session, and at the beginning of the session, so in the class préparatoire, it is in 4 hours. I don't mention it at the beginning, but I'm a chemistry teacher in class préparatoire, so it means a 2-year preparatory school in higher education to get into engineering schools. In this formation, you have the practical work is about 4 hours. So at the beginning, I take approximately 10 or 20 minutes for a briefing. So you discuss with students about their difficulties, about the difficulties that are encountered during the preparation. And during the practical session, you can really focus on the elaboration and the implementation of protocol and discussion of the results. The debriefing is an opportunity to discuss about the difficulties that are encountered during the practical session, and for me this is an opportunity to ask them what they are thinking about the preparatory method, and I can improve it for the next session. Okay, you have all the method. Of course, we can adapt it according to the student. And now we have the tough question: is it efficient? With my students, I really see a big difference. Since I use this method, their results in entrance examination for engineering schools are really better. But I cannot just believe my feelings, right? And that's why we have to ask ourselves, is this method really efficient? And that's why I asked 10 of my co-workers to make a little study with me on 10 classes. Okay, so we take 10 classes in higher education, different school, but all in higher education, and we divided each class into 2 small groups. And one group is preparing the practical work with a handout, and the other group is preparing with a video. So after that, we ask students to answer the same quiz. They have 1 quiz for the scientific notions, and they have 1 quiz for try to estimate their satisfying about the method. Before I show you the results, I have to specify that nothing has been published today, okay? So give the information I will give you just as leads, but not as big conclusions. We have to replicate some of the experimentations to confirm the results. So, in this slide I just show you 1 group, but one more time we have 10 groups of students, okay? So the trend is almost always the same. So this is an example, but we have approximately 10 times this result. So we saw that video group has better results and answer quickly. It seems really promising, right? But we also ask them the preparation time, and we see that the video group is preparing during average preparation time 25 minutes against 20 minutes for the handout group. So maybe we have a trivial conclusion here. Video group works more and he has better results. So I learned nothing. If a student works more, he has better results, okay? But I think that's exactly what we are expecting from our students motivating them more to make them prepare better sessions. I think that's exactly the role of the videos. It's more attractive and it can motivate students. This is my hypothesis, and we have also a quiz to try to measure that. And we see that video group is more satisfying, and we also ask to students if they prefer stay in their group or if they prefer join the other group. And we see that in the video group, most of the students are happy, seem happy. And in the hands-on group, most of the students prefer the video. But remember, this is an experimental situation. In a teaching situation, I think we have to satisfy all the students. That's why I advise you to give them both tools. Handout and videos can complement each other, and of course you have the quiz after that. Okay, the last thing about this method, with quizzes we can estimate what happens before the session, but we have also to try to see if we have difference between the two groups during the session. So we can really, it is difficult to quantify that, but I asked to all my coworkers to report me their observation, and now I report you their observation. So in most of the case, students who prepares with video are more autonomous and dynamics, and more able to propose protocol and justify experimental choices. And I observe also that in my group. And in my groups, I see that students of video group has made more steps, so they are quicker. Okay. One more time, I repeat, we have to replicate some experiments. So this is just it. Okay, I propose to show you a little extract of a video. We have subtitles, and for the occasion we make subtitles in English, and from now all the videos on this YouTube channel will be translated in English, so you can use them if you want. In the description, as you see, you have the organization, so you can click on the time code, and for example, if I click here, we are
dans une vidéo, donc
in the corresponding part.
Mais au fait, que signifie hydrodistillation? Le préfixe hydro signifie qu'on utilise de l'eau, et le suffixe distillation signifie styllatio. Styllatio qui veut dire couler goutte à goutte. Voilà. Bon, là, les enfants, on s'assoit tranquillement, on sort le cahier de labo, les crayons, et on se prépare à prendre des notes. L'hydrodistillation est la distillation d'un mélange contenant de l'eau et
okay, so at the beginning of the video you have the principle, and later you have the experiment, and now I create videos sometimes with my students. So right here,
ça va parler.
Of course.
Pour présenter la méthode expérimentale, je vais faire appel à deux apprentis chimistes.
Pas bien non.
Don't worry, in France we don't hurt the students, okay? Not yet.
Adrien. Bonjour. Et Mathieu. Bonjour. Allez, go, on va faire la même.
Okay, of course, after the hydrodistillation, I asked my student to explain some notions about the technique.
Histoire d'éviter que les pièces restent soudées. Concernant le ballon, deux précautions importantes. La première, c'est
c'est de ne jamais remplir le volume du ballon au-delà de la moitié. Deuxième chose, pensez à prévoir un deuxième col qui vous permettra d'avoir une ampoule de coulée isopar.
Okay, I think that's enough, and of course you can subscribe now if you want, discover the whole videos. My last point on this presentation is about new videos and new projects with students. In fact, in class préparatoire, they have a work called TIPE. It means a supervised, personal initiative work. And in the TIPE, they have a lot of things to do. This is a little project of research, and in some cases, they need to implement basics experiments. And in this case, I propose them to create a video with me for the YouTube channel and for other students. And this is really interesting because for the students who are actors in videos, this is a good way to improve their communication skill. And this is also the opportunity to teach them other things like how to place according to the camera, the intonation, the staging, that kind of thing, not only chemistry. And for the students from the audience, this is better because they can more easily project themselves in the place of other students than the teacher. And I think that's why these new videos with students who are working with their teacher have been well received on the web. I have many other projects with the students. I don't have the time to talk about all of these projects, so just a few examples. Next year I will propose them to make their report videos, their report in videos for practical work. Of course, I will teach them how to make a little video with smartphones. It is really easy. I've already made this kind of tutorial for teachers. And the last, but my favorite, recently I proposed to my students to be examinator. So you see, you have a training session for exams in practical work. So I have a group of 20 students. I take 4 students and I teach them to be examinators. So we have 4 students examinator and 16 students examinated. And I teach to the examinator to drive a group, to ask right questions. I mean questions which make thinking other students without giving them the answer, and how to evaluate and do a feedback. The first results are really promising, and I'm really satisfied about that. Okay, before the conclusion, I'd like to thank all our partners and my co-workers and all of people who follow us on the web, because all of this has not been possible without them. In conclusion, teaching is always in evolution, and this new preparatory method is innovative and playful, attractive. About the efficiency, I'm pretty confident, even if, like I said before, we have to replicate some experiments to confirm results. I think these new channels of communications are for us a great opportunity to improve and complement our teachings. Don't forget, the best educational tools is in our hands for a long time. This is our students, of course. Thank you.